Hello dear students and welcome to my channel. In this video, we shall understand conditional sentences. Now, before we go over to the assignment part, I will give you a little brief explanation on what are conditional sentences, what are the kinds of conditional sentences, and how and where can we use them. Now, conditional sentences students have got two parts or clauses. Part 1 always begins with if, which will describe a possible situation. What is the meaning of a possible situation? Whether that situation could occur or not. And part 2 will describe the consequence of the first part. Now, always a conditional sentence is consisting of a dependent clause and an independent clause. Now, what is a dependent clause? It is a group of words which has got a subject and a verb. Both are present. The subject is present about whom we are talking about in the sentence and what action is being done by that subject, which is the verb. Both of them are there in the sentence, but still they will not convey a complete thought. Only when this dependent clause goes and joins with an independent clause will it form a complete meaningful sentence. Now, how do we identify conditional sentences? Now, conditional sentences students will always begin with a subordinating conjunction like because, if, or a relative pronoun like when or whenever. Now, there are four types of conditional sentences: zero conditional, one, 2 and 3. Okay, now let us first understand zero conditional. Now, zero conditional students uses the present tense in both the clauses. What are the both the clauses which we are talking about? One is your dependent clause and the other is your independent clause. In both these clauses, the zero condition states that it is in present tense. Now, it is always used to talk about something that is always or generally true. The situation which is presented in the sentence is always or generally true. And what does the present tense signify? That both these actions are both possible and typical. Now, what is the form of zero conditional? First clause will have if plus the simple present tense and followed by the independent clause in the simple present tense. Like for example, if it rains is the first clause, I take an umbrella with me to work is the second clause. Now, if it rains is in the simple present tense, I take an umbrella with me to work is also stating the sentence or the clause to be in your simple present. So this is called as your zero conditional. That it is talking about something that is always or generally true. If it generally rains, I generally take an umbrella with me to work. Second example, if I wake up early, I always read in bed. Now students, like I told you that if it rains, if I wake up early, these are all dependent clauses because even if they have a subject and a verb, does it make any sense if I tell you that if it rains? What are you understanding? What will happen if it rains? If I wake up early, are you understanding? If I just tell you if I wake up early, what are you to understand? You will not understand. But if I combine these two sentences with an independent clause, like in the example 1, if I say if it rains, I take an umbrella with me to work. So you will understand that if it rains, I take an umbrella with me to work. Second example, if I wake up early on its own does not make any sense. But if I combine it with I always read in bed, then you understand that if I wake up early, I always read in bed. So this is what your zero conditional is about. Now, these four sentences which are highlighted in purple, you have to write it in a piece of paper. And according to these four conditions, the format of these are based on type 1, type 2, type 3 and 0 conditional sentences. You will be given a sentence. Based on these four formats, you will try to identify the situation. Now, what is your 0 conditional? If plus simple present followed by your simple present. First conditional is if plus simple present followed by your will plus base verb or root form of the verb. Second conditional, if plus simple past. If in the clause it is talking about something in the simple past, it will be followed by a clause which has a modal verb plus the base form of the verb. Third conditional is if plus past perfect. Then it will be followed by modal plus present perfect tense of the verb. Now, let us understand what are 0 and 1 type conditionals and what are 2 type and type 3 conditionals. 0 and 1 conditional students are those situations which are possible. They deal with things that are generally true and it could be true in the future also. Whereas 2 and 3 conditionals are your hypothetical or impossible situations which are concerned with events in the past that we cannot change. And one thing to remember, students, is that in the second conditional, the simple past is used in the condition clause. So, based on this, let us go over to your assignment. But what you have to keep in mind, please note down these 4 formats in purple that you have to memorize. And only on the basis of this will you identify your type of sentences. Okay, of conditional sentences. And also remember that 0 and 1 conditionals are generally true and 2 and 3 conditionals are hypothetical, not true. So let us go over to the assignment. Put the verbs in brackets into the appropriate type 1, 2, 3 conditional sentences. If you come to Delhi, will you dash call me question mark. Now, the first part of the sentence, if you come to Delhi, does it make any sense? No. But I am joining this sentence with will you call me. Now, what is the type conditional sentence over here? Now, if you come to Delhi, will you is given. So, it is something presenting a situation which could be true in the future. So, write down the formats, or if you have the formats at the back of your mind, then try to identify. If you come to Delhi is in what tense? It is in if you come to Delhi. This is in, it has got if and it has got come to Delhi is in your simple present. Will is there. Now see, in type 1 conditional we have will plus base form, which is call is your base form of the word. Okay, and will is there. So this is your type 1 conditional. Now if you dash read the instructions, you would not have made that mistake. Now students, read the sentence carefully. What are you trying to identify over here? First part of the sentence, if you read the instructions, okay, it doesn't make sense. You would not have made that mistake. Now, what are we identifying in the second part of the sentence? We are identifying two things, would and have made. Okay, now would, what do you understand by would? It is a modal verb, and not have made is the present perfect tense in the negative sense. Okay, so where, in which type are these two things present, a modal and a present perfect? In your 3 conditional, type 3 conditional. So if plus past perfect, if you had read, okay, the instructions, you would not have made that mistake. So it is your type 3 conditional. Now, what is past perfect tense? So, what is the formula of past perfect tense? It is had plus past participle. Okay, where over here had plus past participle of read is read. If you had read the instructions, and what is the formula of present perfect tense? Have or has plus the past participle. So, over here you will write you would not have made that mistake, which is already given in your sentence. So, this is how you will identify your conditionals. Now, third, the thief would have been recognized if he dash not wear a mask. Two things you have to identify. Would have been recognized. Would is there, modal verb. Have been again is your what? It is your present perfect tense. If he had not worn a mask, this is now becomes your past perfect. Okay, so first you will identify where is would and present perfect. It is in the third conditional, like I've underlined. I've written down the 4 conditionals, and then I'm trying to identify with this question that what it is. We have identified would as the modal verb which is present in third conditional, and have been recognized, which is your present perfect. So automatically the conditional will have if plus past perfect in it. So you will write if he had not worn a mask. Where becomes worn. Now number 4. If the news had not been interesting, the newspaper dash not printed it. Now, as a main verb, we use have or has always for the present tense and had for the past tense. This is one thing you need to keep in mind, that in present tense we use have or has, and in past tense we use had. So, what is this sentence saying? If the news had not been interesting. Now, had is always in the past tense. So, out of the 4 conditional, which condition is giving your past tense? It is either 2 or 3. Okay, now what is the next part of the sentence? The newspaper dash not printed it. The newspaper would not have printed it. Modal plus not have printed becomes present perfect. So this is your type 3 conditional. Number 5, what would you say if you dash be in my place? What would you say if you were in my place? Why? Because as we examine the 4 conditionals, we find that this is type 2, because what would you say is modal plus base verb. Modal over here is would and base verb is say. So the first part, if plus simple past will be, and what is the past form of be? It is were. So what would you say if you were in my place? So based on these 4 formulas only, you need to find out some identifying uh, word in the sentence. Like over here, what would you say? We have found out that the modal verb is there and the base verb is there in its first part of the sentence. So automatically we will identify it as type 2 conditional, and the second part will have if and simple past tense. So if you were in my place, this is how you need to approach these sentences. Now number 6 is very important. Please pay attention. If you heat ice, it melt. Now children get confused with if you heat ice, it melts, but that is wrong. If you heat ice, it melts, no doubt. But this is wrong. Why? Because it is a conditional statement which will depend on what? It will depend on the melting point of ice. Has the melting point of ice been reached? No. We do not know. It is not confirmed. So, if you heat ice, it will melt. Is will the modal will is telling us that if the ice is able to melt if we heat it. So what is the conditional over here? Type 1. Why? Because it will melt. It will melt. Will plus base verb is melt. And if you heat ice is in the present tense, simple present tense. So it is your type 1 conditional. Okay, so do not write if you heat ice, it melts. That is wrong. If you heat ice, it will melt. Okay, now number 7. The cat would eat that cake if you leave it there. Now this again also is very important. The cat would eat that cake if you left it there. Now would eat that cake. Would eat that cake, we have a modal and eat is the base verb. If you leave it there becomes left it there. So simple past. So this is your type 2 conditional. Okay. Next. Number 8, dash provide you complete your assignment, you can go to play. Now you can go to play is in the simple past tense. So provided you complete your assignment, you can go to play. Now join the following sentences using if. The ice cream shop is closed. We can't have ice cream this morning. If the ice cream shop is closed, we can't have ice cream this evening. I can't drive, so we can't take my father's car. If I could drive, we could have taken my father's car. Now, see, students, these sentences are given. We have to put a questioning kind of clause with these sentences to join them with if. Now, my uncle doesn't work much, so he hasn't got a lot of money. Now, what will be the answer? If my uncle had worked much, he would have had got a lot of money. We do not have any flour. We can't bake a cake. If we had some flour, we could have baked a cake. If you will not write if we had any flour. Over here, when it changes with a conditional clause of if, any becomes some. If we had some flour, we could have baked a cake. So please pay attention to these small things. Number 5, my landlord doesn't pay taxes. That's why he is so rich. If my landlord had paid taxes, he would have not been so rich. Okay, so according to the conditionals, you have to approach these if conditional sentences. Fill in the blanks with the correct tenses of the verbs given in the brackets. There are some verbs given in the brackets. We have to fill in the blanks with the correct tenses of the verbs. Now, if she finish work early, she dash go home. If she finishes work early, she can go home. Now, if she finishes, why? Because she is your singular subject. Singular subject always followed by a singular verb, which is finish is the base verb. So what is the singular form of finish? It is finishes. If she finishes work early, she can go home. Can again is the modal verb joined with the base form of the verb go itself. Water turn to vapor if you heat it. Water turns to vapor if you heat it. If we succeeded, we dash get a reward. If we succeeded, we would get a reward. Now here we use the modal verb would followed by the base form of the verb get. If you dash not like this one, I'll bring you another. If you don't like this one, I'll bring you another. Now based on this clause only, he is saying that I'll bring you another. So not like means if you don't like. 5. I could tell you the meaning if I dash know Latin. I could tell you the meaning if I knew Latin. If Manas had tried harder, he dash succeeded. If Manas had tried, that means it is past perfect tense. So it will be followed by he would have succeeded. Modal verb plus have succeeded. Succeed becomes succeeded and this becomes your past perfect tense. I dash not eat if I were you. I would not eat if I were you. Would is a modal verb. If I had any sense, I dash not buy a second-hand car. If I had any sense, I would not have bought. Buy becomes bought and it is preceded by would not have bought a second-hand car. Tell him to speak to me if you see him. Tell him to speak to me if you see him is in the correct tense itself. If I had known that you were coming, I dash bake a cake. If I had known, therefore I would have. It becomes your past perfect tense. I would have baked a cake. Unless you pay him a good salary, he dash work for you. Unless you pay him a good salary, he will not work for you. Number 12. I buy that house if I could afford it. Now, I would buy that house if I could afford it. Not I could buy that house if I could afford it. I would buy that house. Number 13. If I had asked you, you come. If I had asked you, you would have come. If he worked hard, he dash be rich. Depending on whether if he worked hard, he could be rich. Here we are using modal verbs also, like could and would. If I had repaired my car earlier, I dash drive you to Ambala. If I had repaired, therefore I would have driven. Because these are all in past tense. If I had repaired, this becomes past perfect. I would have driven. Drive becomes driven preceded by modal verb would and have. Now, next let us do the other assignment. Put the appropriate tense of the verbs given in brackets. I will not help him unless he dash for it, ask. Now, these kind of questions you have to understand the concept of subject-verb agreement. What is the subject here? He. Is it singular or plural? It is singular. So, singular subject followed by singular verb according to your subject-verb agreement rules. So, ask. The singular form of ask is asks. He asks for it. She boasted as if she dash everything. No, she boasted as if she knew everything. Now, boasted is in the past tense. So, what is the past form of know? Knew. My uncle told me that he dash a good profit. Make. My uncle told me that he had made a good profit. He called me as many times as he dash want. He called past tense. So, want becomes wanted. She wrote as fast as she could. Wrote is past tense, so can becomes could. I knew the doctor who had come here. Come becomes had come. He pretends as if he is blind. Why is? Because he is singular subject, so it will be followed by singular verb is. What are the three verb forms of be? Is, am, and are. So depending on the subject, it is, am, or are. So over here, because singular subject, it is. Now, number 8, you will be glad to know that I dashed the competition win. You will be glad to know that I won the competition. Now, number 9, he assured me that he dashed my watch. Repair. He assured me, past tense, that he would repair my watch. Now, he assured me, I am telling you about another person. So, he assured me that he would repair my watch. Number 10, he works hard. so that he dash get the scholarship. May. He works hard so that he may get the scholarship. It is not might, it is may. Why? Because singular subject he will be followed by may, not might. Because we have to concentrate on he works also. He works hard so that he may get the scholarship. So with this, students, we come to the end of this assignment of your chapter number 5, conditional sentences. If you like my channel, students, please like, share and subscribe and keep the notification button on for more upcoming videos. Please let me know in the comment section what more videos you would like, what more topics you would like videos to be made on. Thank you. Please subscribe, students, and all the best.